The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Carmen Godwin. I'm the program manager for the Florida Association of Museums. I want to welcome you to our Lunch and Learn. This is the fundamentals of fundraising. It is a 4-part series. We have 2 more sessions coming up. One on June 20th, the 5 Secrets to a Fabulous Fundraising Board. Alice Lee Stansberry invites you to bring your board members to listen with you. And then we also have one on advocacy on July 18th with Melinda Horton. So please be aware of those programs upcoming. The FAMF staff with you, I don't think Melinda's able to get on today because she has another conference that she's working on. Again, I'm the program manager. I want to go over briefly the webinar instructions with you. This is a presentation style. It is a recorded webinar that I can share with you later if you feel like you missed something. We also have a opportunity to ask questions at the very end of the program. So in this particular program, we have 3 speakers, but each speaker will do their presentation, and at the very end, we'll hold the questions. However, if you have a question that pops up in your mind during the program, just type it into the chat box. In your control panel, there is a chat box or a question box. You can just type your question in, and then I will save those questions to the end, and I will make sure that all of your questions get posed to the speakers. If there's a particular speaker that you want to ask a question to, and not all of them, just write their name, say, Brennan or Kathy or Dory, and then ask your question, and I'll make sure to direct the question to that particular person. We do have one handout available. So if you want to download that is a source document that Kathy Fleming will be sharing during her program. And so she wanted to make sure that you had links to those sources, and you can actually download that anytime during the webinar while it's being broadcast. I want to thank our partners, Visit Florida and Cultural Builds Florida. And then I want to introduce our speakers. We have today with us Brennan Bessio, who is the CEO of the Bishop Museum of Science and Nature, which recently got a new name. Kathy Fleming, the Executive Director of the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, and Dory Hipschman, the Executive Director of Bailey Matthews National Shell Museum. And we thank each of them for being here today and sharing their expertise with us. I am going to move the show over to Brennan and let her start her presentation.
Thank you, Carmen. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here and do a reprise of this earned income revenue. And I'll start out by just giving you a little bit of overview of museums and earned revenue, and then go into my particular section. And so we'll start. So what are the usual museum revenue streams? Everybody might have a little bit different revenue stream depending upon where you are, but in general, you have earned income, which that includes your gate and your program, and any other way you actually earn the revenue for your museum. You have your contributions, we have grants, and we have investments. And you can see the percentages that are museum averages. I will tell you that what I've learned in the museum field, that earned income, if you're a passive museum, will be in the lower ranges, and if you're an active museum like a children's museum or a zoo, you'll have higher levels of earned income, especially from the gate. So all of us are striving to have a balance, and so do look at where you are in your organization. I'm trying to hit my slideshow here. I'm sorry. Little technical difficulties. Oh, there we go. Oh, I got my next. Sorry. Okay, I'm good. So what is earned income? And we look at earned income in our ways here at this museum, as far as admissions, programs, could be birthday parties, could be adult parties. Our store is income. You could have food service. We don't have food service here, but that is one that Kathy can talk about. Rentals, maybe a landlord or tenant relationship, licensing of your intellectual property, traveling exhibitions, travel programs. I know people do those travel programs, or maybe some sort of community program. And why do you need it? Well, you need earned income because you need a diverse revenue stream. As we all know, that you can't depend on any one thing. So the more diverse your streams of revenue, then the better off you're going to be as an institution and stronger, because we all know there's, I mean, like this year with the red tide, tourism took a dip. You have to be prepared either with operating reserves in your museum or different ways you can bring income in. And then it's another way of making use of your museum's assets. And by getting people into your facility, you get exposure, and more people, even if they came to a wedding at your facility, saw how beautiful it was, saw how intriguing the exhibits were, they're more likely to return. But something to be aware of is, as you have unrelated business income, that is taxable. And you can work with your tax accountant to understand what portion would be. For example, for us, the store merchandise that we have, a part of it's non-mission related, and so that is taxable. And then all of our rentals are taxable as well. So I just have a little slide here talking about the panel of CEOs. I want to tell you that everybody is bringing some best practices here, and I think you'll be, just knowing what we did before, you'll be pleased. And we are the Bishop. I have to show our one of our great new looks here. We were the South Florida Museum and Bishop Planetarium until April 10th. And we are officially now the Bishop, or the Bishop Museum of Science and Nature. And we have incredible look that we are taking forward and getting great positive response. So just had to show my pride here. So how one of the things I'm going to talk about is really mostly rentals. We have spaces in the museum, such as our courtyard and a boardroom that looks into our manatee aquarium. We're building some new spaces, new patio areas, and a new early learning exhibition, new halls, new classrooms. All of that is potentially moneymaker for you, and you can rent it out. And we have here already weddings. We have corporate meetings, corporate parties, such as their holiday parties. We have fundraisers here for other nonprofits. We do private parties, such as birthday parties. And so all of those, the way people like to come together and celebrate, are all opportunities for you. And when we price stuff, we really price it. We look at the other surrounding venues, and we look at what people are charging, and we look at ours. And we get input from the caterers that see other areas and other party planners, and get an idea as to how we then can price what we're doing. But all of these are great opportunities for an organization. You can add value, so you could have a particular price for the rental of your space. Maybe it's your courtyard, but you can add value to your customer by having right there on site equipment such as tables and chairs, the podium, any AV equipment you don't mind having other people use, and charge that out as a fee. Maybe you want to provide some mission programming. So we sometimes will show a planetarium show for somebody using our planetarium lobby, and then we do an upcharge for that. Or we do a tour, behind the scenes tour, or just a tour of the museum for upcharges, and people like that. It's great for us. It gets some marketing in there as well. We don't do this, but you could provide event planning. Some museums do that, where you're actually helping the bride plan her whole wedding. And so that's a choice decision, and an important thing to think about as you go forward in doing that. I just put in here an example of our new brochure. We just have a little trifold, and we will start marketing more of our spaces since we have some more new ones, and we'll be adding those to this brochure. This will all be redone when we get occupancy of our new spaces. But you don't have to spend a lot of money on brochures, just some nice pictures and text, and have it on your website, and people will want to come in. So from a catering standpoint, some museums do have a one preferred caterer, and that is one thing that you can do. So you would have some sort of agreement with them for commission, or the informal term might be kickback. We don't have one. We have a list of caterers that we have an agreement with ahead of time, and I'm happy to send anybody that agreement if you would want to email me. And we ask for 10% of the caterer's proceeds for the night. And that, when we started doing that, that really added a nice layer of revenue for us. What the caterer usually does is pass that back on to their customer, but it's a service. We're providing a way for them to do their work, and so people are not. This is not new, and people are willing to do it. So we do maintain that preferred list of caterers that we have vetted beforehand, because when they use your facility and they have their own, they're carrying their liquor license. You want to make sure they have the right licenses. So you want to protect yourself. Your insurance company, your insurance provider would appreciate that. So when you have a preferred list of caterers, they've been vetted by you. And then the agreement. So anybody interested in that, please let me know. Now, leaving rentals aside, just straight spaces and use, you can travel your exhibits. We've had good luck in building and traveling some exhibits. It does take some extra thought. You have to build for durability. You have to build for travel, just from a travelability and long life for them. But it is a great way to get your museum's name out, as well as get some income, because your team has put some time into developing and creating these exhibits, and then you get the return by other people being able to appreciate what your staff have put together. Another thing that we've talked about doing here is to do an escape room program. And you see these escape rooms in town. I know Sarasota has one. And so our staff have put one together, and we hope that when we have some new spaces that and a bigger team, that as we can put that out. But people like that, where they can do some team building and have other people provide the program and the space, and then maybe you get a double whammy there with both room and program. And then another underlying layer of revenue for us is our liquor license. About 10 years ago, we were just asking people for donations when they came to an exhibit opening or a program for a glass of wine or for beer. But that's all you can do is ask for a donation. You can't ask for a specific amount. But if you get your liquor license, then you actually can ask for a specific amount to cover your make more than the cost. There's a little bit of work that goes with that. You have to apply for the license, and you have to keep it up. It really just entails your board, the CEO and the officers on the board that have to be fingerprinted, and then you have to keep that up as your officers change. And then there's a small fee. It's under $500 a year for a liquor license, and it does not increase your insurance much. And we probably, with just the few events we do every month, we probably make about $4,000 or $5,000 a year just on our liquor license. So it's just, as you build all these little layers of revenue, this one is a good one. And then you're legal. So you have to keep this liquor in a premise that is just for your liquor that you buy from a provider, and then you have to keep any that you give as donation liquor separate from that. But it's really minimal administrative behind it. I will share with you that I've worked in other nonprofits and that your property can be valued to others. I worked in the Pacific Northwest for a while for Girl Scouts, and the property we had up there had pine trees, all sorts of trees, and we would the trees could be harvested for money. So is your property big enough for a wind farm or a solar farm? I mean, it's just ideas. Or do you have a room that you could rent out to another group? We rented one of our rooms out for a couple of years to a group, and that was another underlying layer of revenue that we could add to our bottom line. I've also worked for a Girl Scout council in the past that had a pool that they created a community pool club. So when Girl Scouts wasn't in session, camp wasn't in session, the community could use the pool, but it cost them a fee. So do you have a park or a courtyard that you want to have open for recreation and then bring the community in, but actually charge them to be a member? So just some alternative thoughts on how you might be able to use your property. And that's what I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Brennan. Again, if you have any questions as we're going through any of these programs, feel free to type those into the chat box, and I will save those for the end of the program. I'm now going to pass this over to Kathy Fleming to provide her presentation.
All right. Hello, everybody. I am Kathy Fleming, and I am just going to turn on my slideshow here from the beginning so that you can see it. I am the executive director at the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum. We're not only a lighthouse, we're also a science museum in some ways. We do maritime archaeology. We put students in the water with archaeologists, study shipwrecks and other submerged cultural resources, and we do a lot of museum education as well. And I've been here a long time, and I've grown the lighthouse quite a bit. So hopefully what I'm sharing with you today will work for if you're a small museum or if you're a little bit larger one. And the basic idea is to focus on the customer, to be customer centric. And so this is a different way of looking at the world. When I first came to the museum, there were only 5 people here, and I did all the store buying. I really quickly learned that people don't buy the things that I like. They buy things that I don't like. And so if you go into my shop today, you won't see a lot of things that are my personal selections. You'll see things that are tailored to them. And so instead of thinking things like what customers should we serve with our mission, I start thinking about what job does the customer need, or what intention does the customer have? What are they trying to get done? Are they trying to relax? Are they trying to spend time with family? And I will ask them. Sometimes I'll have my staff all sit together and we'll talk about what do we think the customer wants, and then we'll ask the customer and we'll see how well we fit. And we almost always learn something new. And so instead of thinking about things like what can we sell customers, we need to think about things like what are our customers' needs and wants and aspirations, and how do we help our customers live up to them? And this really works whether you have 50,000 people a year or 200,000 people a year that are coming to your museum. And I've run museums that have had very small visitation and museums that have had larger ones. I've always been trying to grow it. And by really talking to those customers and finding out about them, you can learn a lot. So I won't go over all of these, but how do your customers prefer to be addressed? That's a good one. What relationships do you want to have with your customers? What do they want from you? And really, what do they think of as value? I mean, that's a really critical piece. So I hope that that makes sense to you. If not, please ask a question. I would be happy to answer. Let's see if I can get it to move forward here. I'm not sure. There it is. So one of the things that we do, and this really helps our earned income, is we think about 3 key messages. And really your human brain doesn't remember a lot of complex information. And if you're on my staff, you really know that I tend to provide a lot of over information. I am very verbose. So honing down to 3 key messages really helps me as well as the customer. Our 3 key messages are that we're a nonprofit, our customers won't necessarily know that unless we tell them. They don't really know that we keep the light shining instead of the Coast Guard. They may think that we're government operated, which means not only do they not want to buy things from us as much, but they also don't like to give us gifts as much. So we need to tell people that we're nonprofit. And you may be surprised at how many people think you're government owned or operated and that you have everything you need and you don't have to worry about it. We talk about the fact that we're mission centered, and our mission is listed there: to discover, preserve, present, and keep alive the stories of the nation's oldest sport. And we like to be connected, and connected is a great word. I've seen actually Breenanne use it too in some of her materials earlier, but being connected to the community, to each other, and to the customer, sharing the impact back with donors and guests. I like to tell our customers when they come in and they buy an admission ticket or they purchase something from the store that they made a difference to us. We're connected to them, they're making a difference. We're connected to sustainability, and that really matters. So think of what your 3 key messages are and share those. And here's another 3. And this is our brand architecture. And these are words that the customer came up with. We didn't come up with these. We interviewed our customers and we said, give us 3 words that tell us what you think about the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum. And we asked for a descriptive word, an emotional word, and a functional word. I don't think we actually asked in that way. When we talked about it, was simpler than that. We just said, give us 3 words, and then we divided them into those categories. But we ended up with authentic, enjoyable experiences. And it might not have been that the customer said, I want it to be authentic or I want it to be an experience. They may have said, I like it because it's real and it was fun and I was really scared. But what we ended up doing after we got about 1,000 reactions is figuring out that this is a brand architecture or brand promise. It's what the customer gets from us. And then we share that in everything we do, from purchasing store stock to doing an experience. We want it, for example, to be authentic. We even tell ghost stories here, but we try to put, which pay for our archaeology program, because not everybody likes that, but that's what it does. And we try to make some authentic history in every one of those ghost stories. So we're always telling something what's real and connecting to this brand promise. And that's a really, really important and reasonably easy thing to do, is to ask your visitors how they see your museum. And if I do this just with my staff or just with my board, then I get 3 very different sets of information, and it's the visitors that are really the most important. And that when I start to offer things that they believe that they're seeing and deliver their promise, then they buy more from me. So audience segmentation, we're talking a little bit about that. A target audience is not everybody who walks through your door. You need to start by figuring out who your audience really is, not what you'd like them to be. You might think that locals should all come to your museum. You might think that families should all come, but are they really the people who are coming, or is it more, you may want to reach teenagers. They're a hard group to reach. And then market to the people that are really coming in. We market to veterans and military because we have a military site. We don't spend a lot of marketing dollars or energy on Lighthouse Avids. We don't market to them because we will get them anyway. If you're a Lighthouse Avid, and that's a person who will crawl over glass to get to a lighthouse and they're out there, and they might be whatever your museum is, history or art avids, they may really want to come to your museum. You don't have to market to them. Spend your time on other people who are represented in your pool of audience members, but who aren't maybe your highest level. Maybe they're second or third down. So you see different segments. And when you're considering what products they want, address those segments individually. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. I use something, and I just started this past year and I really love it, from a company called Strategizer, and it's called a customer value proposition. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. And you take each of these segments that we just talked about. Let's say for us, it's military or retired military. And you want to figure out what they want to do on the site. Are they trying to vacation? Are they trying to make a difference? And see what they're doing, and then see how you can offer that. I'm offering, for example, I'm building an exhibit on World War II history. We have a significant World War II history here on site. And then I want to see what their potential pains or possible frustrations are. For us, it's cost per value. It might be something else for you. People come here and they think it's only a lighthouse. Most of the lighthouses I go to are national parks. National parks cost $5. Why are you charging me more than that? And so I have to share that value with them in advance. And then create your offerings, whether it's admissions or store product or a food service, to offer some pain relief. Maybe visitors are coming to your museum and you want them to spend a couple of hours, but they need a food service or just maybe a snack to kind of make them hang out longer and spend more time on site. We started our cafe in a very small little kitchen area that we had. We had one of those little half doors and we served things out of it. And we made about $30,000 the first year. And we've grown it now and expanded it. It's in a World War II building and we've themed it according to World War II. And now it's making some more. I can talk about that and show you the menu in just a minute. Here's what that sheet looks like from Strategizer. This is on my handout. And it is basically, you start on this customer profile side on the left and go to the right, map out what the profile is. I actually do this just writing on it. Different ones, you can buy one of these from Amazon with a big pad with them in it and you can write all over them, or you can get your staff to participate and use sticky notes. And then you develop what your customer profile is, and then you look over here and say, what products can we create that fit that profile? And then that fit is really important. So I just wanted you to see that. You can see it online, and there are also some wonderful YouTube videos about that. And then you market to them. I talked about our ghost tours and how they pay for archaeology, and you can actually tie in that brand architecture and that segmentation into everything you do. Here's one of the ways we did it for ghost tours. And you might be surprised at that because I picked this one because it's probably the least mission related one. And I wanted to see how it makes a difference and show you that. So on a Dark of the Moon ghost tour, you not only hear spooky stories based on real history in a dark lighthouse, you also help us investigate our maritime past. Our ghost tours support both maritime archaeology and historic research discoveries at the museum. Learn more about how a shiver down your spine helps save our past. Step up, which is our tagline, at staugustinelighthouse.org, and you can buy tickets. So that's just an opportunity to work in your development. Our lighthouse shop sales do very well. We make almost $1 million in the store. The month of June is a slower month for us. We make over 100,000 there. We didn't start out this way. We try to niche really firmly in things that people are expecting us to get. And if you can see, there's plenty of space here. Entering and exiting through the gift shop is really important to us. I know some people like to exit only through the gift shop. I actually like to have both of those things. Putting merchandising up, again, it's not what you like or what looks pretty to you. It's really what your demographics want and how your customers move. I go to a lot of museums and I see a lot of gift stores that are kind of tucked over in the corner. One of the things that you want to do is you want to watch your customers. Do they look at the gift shop? Do they blow right by it? Why didn't they go in? You could put coffee outside or say, come on in and have some coffee. You can have a big sign that reads sale. If you're an American, you're going to move to the right. And moving to the right, to having the gift shop on the right, when you want people to go in there is really important. So do you want people to go in as they're walking into the museum or out of the museum? Which one of those is on the right? It might be that you need to move your gift shop out of the walls and into a place where people can touch and see and feel things. Even though a lot of things are online, there's still a really tactical and visceral pleasure that customers get from being able to look at and touch and interact with merchandise. And so there's actually a great book that's on my handout from a guy named Paco Underhill that's called Why We Buy. When you read it, people will think that you love to shop, but actually I love to sell things. So spend some time looking at your customers and how they act. And then if they're not doing what you want them to do, spend some time thinking about ways that you can entice them to do that. So adjacencies. In your store, you're going to place things together that are meant to be sold together. Let's say you have a clothing sale and you sold $30 in t-shirts. Well, if you can talk that customer into a $6 pair of socks, you just increase your sales 20%. If you can add a belt and it's $20, then your sales have jumped 66% and you're sort of a genius. We actually create lighthouse socks from an American company called Sock Club. You can look it up. They will do something special for you. You put wine and wine glasses together, you kind of get that. And keep the small items and your impulse buys by the register. They're really more secure there from a pick up and stick them in your pocket kind of perspective, because that happens with everybody. Books need to be sold face out. They are okay for a library if they're on their side with the binder showing, but you want people to look at the covers so they can see and touch books. People like to do that. Here is a great example of us doing this. Not only our UBIC tags, which tie our merchandise to our mission, but here we've bundled a hat and a t-shirt together. And by bundling a hat and a t-shirt together, we can offer it for a little higher price, and you feel like you're getting a value, and maybe you are. It might be a little bit more of a value, but you're paying a little bit more than you would if you're just buying a t-shirt alone or just a hat alone. And here's another UBIC card on one of our United States Lighthouse Service merchandise things. We actually have a wholesale company that we use to make our own products so we can keep our costs low. Big, expensive, or super interesting items, put them in the back of the store and light them very well. That light will draw people to them. And if people can't really buy it, but they like to look at it, it's great because it moves them through your store. Let's say you're having a recession or people aren't buying as much from you. Try to go to practical items like clothing. People will buy clothing or food even in difficult economic times. We actually make our own fudge daily. It's pretty easy. It comes with the machines. It's a little bit of an investment, but our staff make it and we sell it, and it's one of the great sellers in our store. Keep the prices reasonable. We have really, really good prices in our museum gift shop, and people actually leave here and then come back to get things from St. Augustine because we have such good prices. So cold drinks on a hot day. Our drink cart does $30,000 a year, and it pays for the staffer who doubles checking tickets and admissions at that spot. You can also put it in a big bucket with some ice and sell water out of a bucket if you have a staff that is standing or is monitoring an area. We have a lot of monitoring because we have a lighthouse and climbing and that sort of thing. And this one, the last one, is offer seating nearby for non-shoppers. That one was really about my grandfather. He used to sit in the car and wait my grandmother go into the store without him, and then she had to run back out because he was sitting in the car. So if I have seats for guys who are wanting to run off and I can make them comfortable, and I don't mean to be sexist at all in any way, it might be gals, but there's always seating nearby, and if somebody wants to shop, and then the other person can wait. Space is more. I go into a lot of museum stores where so much product is tucked in there that you can't really move very easily between the displays. There's something that Paco Underhill calls butt brush factor. Particularly women don't like that. They don't want to be in a place standing in line or waiting to see merchandise where somebody's going to rub up against them. It's not, they'll stay away from those spaces. And so sometimes we're just overcrowded in our stores. My store will look crowded if there's a lot of people in it. If it is, if there's not a lot of people in it, like today, then it looks a little bit empty. It may look like we could put some more stuff out, but we don't want to do that. We actually sell our memberships at the front door. We offer a discount on admission for memberships. We have somebody there who's a salesman, and we give a little incentive to those staff for the ones that they sell. We offer a 20% discount in the store if you have a membership. And because of that, our memberships have really, really grown since we started doing it that way. We used to have 350 member households. Today we have 8,000. It's actually become a problem for us on the back end of maintaining all those letters, but and thank you cards and things like that we're working on right now. But they're just still going through the roof, and it's because the value of buying a membership is slightly less than paying for admission for a family of 4. And really, really works. And we sell them right at the door and say, if you'd like a membership, this is a great value. You're helping a nonprofit. So we also have a UBIT brand that is specifically for local artists. So you can go around our store and you can find local artists. This is not only for the customer, and the customer loves to read these little unique stories, but it's also for the artists themselves and locals. Pricing strategy, quickly. markups, you want to make at least 50 points, or you want it to double what you pay for it. Books are not like that. Books are already preset, and you only make about 40 points on a book. So a lot of museum stores focus on books because they make it feel like a museum. I've had consultants tell me to focus more on books. I feel like I have lots of books in my store, but I know that they're going to make me less money than other types of products. If you buy in bulk and you can store it, and sometimes if you're a smaller museum, you can't, you can get a discount for it. Look for discount products that fit your mission, of course. Take your top 10 items and really evaluate them. If you got something, it might be a postcard, it might be a little replica of your museum, could be anything, and it's just flying out and you can't keep enough of them in stock, raise the price a little bit. Yes, the sales will slow down, but it will save you money on the back end in terms of your time and decrease the maintenance of keeping that in your store. Take your top 10 items that are selling, know what those are, and see if you can tweak the price up just a little bit on those, and then drop the ones that aren't selling at all. Sometimes you'll have something that's either maybe a local artist who's a friend of the museum or a donor. I tell people that I will test anything, but if it doesn't sell, I won't keep it. And then if it's not going out the door, then I drop it. I always have a discount bin or table or clearance nearby, and that really attracts people if they're not buying anything else, particularly in a value market like we have now. Automatic reordering systems are really worth the money to invest in. If you have the money, we recommend TAM. It's a retail product that does a lot of different things and just really, really does a lot, whether you're small or big. You may have to do some training with your board and volunteers about product in the store. The store attracts people who like to play around with it and they don't understand that mission is so important, or they don't understand that you're making real money off of this and it's an investment. So you may have to gently, kindly, lovingly make a difference and talk to them about it. This is our cafe. It's a local Gidunk. It's themed after the World War II side of our site. Tin Pickle is a World War II name for a submarine and or a torpedo. And we have specialty hot dogs that are themed. We've done this and it's making about 155,000 last year. This is in a special World War II Jeep garage that we just restored. We didn't start out this way. We started out with a little cart. And so we're actually partnering with a local beer company and some gourmet fruit pops that are local as well. And so people will actually come here to let their kids play on the playground, and then they'll sit at an outdoor picnic table and have a beer while that's going on. And so it's the museum version of Chuck E. Cheese, I guess. Salt Run Sales is our wholesale company. Most people can't do that, but so I will just mention it here. It runs all our ancillary programs. Breenan talked about taxes. We do pay taxes on some items. We like to pay taxes on some items. If we ever have the IRS come in, we can show them that we do this, and we can show them that we're trying to do the right thing. Taxes on something like, for example, little packets of sunscreen or bug spray. We had a couple of hurricanes here in the last few years. The mosquitoes were terrible. If you're selling those little packages of some sort of environmentally friendly bug, I can't think of the word I want to use, but repellent, then that's a great thing to pay taxes on. So, and so before our next speaker, this is actually a copy of my handout. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to help you. You can email me. I don't have my email on here, but it's kfleming, Fleming with one M, at staugustinelighthouse.org. And I'm really, really happy to talk with anybody about anything that's here. And thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Kathy. We are going to be going to our next speaker in just a minute. I just wanted to remind you all that the handout that Kathy had at the very end, it is a downloadable handout. And if you click on the handouts tab, you can go ahead and download that, and that can be a resource for you later. If you have any questions, again, type those into the chat box and we will save those until the end. Right now, I am moving the controls over to Dory Hipschman, and she's going to be doing her presentation at this time. Thank you.
Okay, from the start. All right. Well, thank you both, Brennan and Kathy. I'm going to change it up a little bit. The Bailey Matthews National Shell Museum, if you're not familiar with us, we are a natural history museum, and we are devoted just to mollusks. And our real goal is to connect people to the natural world because they love shells, very simply. Kathy and Brennan both talked about what you can do in your museum to generate additional earned revenue. I'm going to take it a little bit outside the box and talk about some things you might do outside your museum. When we look at earned revenue, and it's about 65% of our total revenue, we are looking to create products and services that are unique to us, to our mission. We are looking to generate revenue that is not dependent on the museum. We are in a hurricane area, or last year we had red tide, we had blue-green algae. You know, my admissions revenue can drop 30% or 50% or to nothing if I have a hurricane that takes out the causeway because we're on a barrier island. We also are looking to generate revenue from people who would not probably visit the museum. There's a lot of people who vacation in Florida that museums are not really top of their list of things to do. We are looking to transfer our intellectual assets into financial assets. We have a lot of wonderful people who are our scientists or are working in collections, and if I just look at them financially, I'm not earning money, I'm spending money on those assets. So how do we turn that around? And finally, always trying to use our earned revenue as a way to, as Brennan said, to build our brand, to increase our reach, and to build our donor base. So we have a number of revenue ideas that we have been implementing at the museum, some large and some smaller, and I will just go through them quickly and try to make them applicable for things that you might be doing as well. So one of the things that we have done for a number of years now is a shell guide. This is a shell guide that can be used anywhere in Southwest Florida, and it's obviously works best if you're in a tourism area to do a guide like this, because your audience changes all the time, so you can sell a lot of guides. We sell these for, I think, $5.95 in our store. We also wholesale them out to other stores throughout our region. So I would say, look at your own museum. What is your area of expertise? You know, if you're a historic museum or a historic house, can you create sort of a brochure of, you know, your neighborhoods or walking tours? You know, can you create a brochure that talks about, here's art in the community, here's public art, or here's the architectural interests in the community, so that when people are visiting, you can in fact be selling your knowledge and your expertise to people who may or may not actually visit you. And as I say, you can sell them, and you can also, we find that most of our gift shops and our stores are delighted to sell these. We wholesale them through, and then they sell them at the same retail price. Taking it a step further, this year, we just introduced our new cell phone application. This is actually uses recognition software so that if someone is at the beach, they can hold a shell in their hand, they can take a picture of it with their cell phone, and it instantly tells them which shell it is in Southwest Florida. We sell that now. We have it actually through iPhone. We are just finalizing the Droid version. We sell that for $1.99. We have had absolutely no one complain about $1.99. It's a complete no-brainer in terms of price point. And it enables us, again, to have visitors who are on the beach interacting with the museum. We include support of the museum on this. We also include a really in-depth guide to all of the 300 shells in Southwest Florida. So you could do something similar. You know, are there, if you're children's museums, maybe you can create an app that shows you every day something different to do with your kids, or, you know, activities or programs, or what are home science experiments that you can load on the app that people can participate. Apps can be really complicated. This is a fairly complex one because it has to literally identify shell, but they can be pretty simple and straightforward as well. It's just a way to connect with people that you might not normally. It's great to get your brand out there in terms of social media. And it also, you know, $1.99 times 1,000 it adds up pretty fast. So we're really excited about that, and we found that people using it just really love it. And we can sell that over and over and over again because we're in a tourist area where, again, our visitors change. So you come onto Sanibel, you're happy to pay $1.99. You have a Shell app that you can have with you for your whole vacation. We also, again, really wanted to use methods to get our experts out onto the beaches, out into the community, again, trying to have both an impact for our educational mission, but also to have a financial impact. And we do beach walks every single morning, 360 some days a year. One of our naturalists, our biologists, will meet visitors on the beach. They pay $15 for a beach walk, and that gives them a half price admission to the museum. Or we flip it around. If you come to the museum and you pay full price, you can get half price on a beach walk. So it really is for us, it's the full circle of learning. You're in the museum, but you're also out on the beach in nature, and that kind of environmental education is important. So if you think about things you might do, obviously, you could do historic walking tours. You could meet our experts on the playground, do pop-up, science experiments in the community. We find collection tours at the museum, or you could do a collection tour throughout your community if you have things that are related to your collections. You could do lectures or programs, and as museums, we all tend to say, yes, we'd be happy to send one of our scientists to speak at your whatever it is. But, we found that even garden clubs are happy to spend $250 to have one of your scientists come speak with them. And $250, times 10, if you do them throughout the year, starts to help pay for things like acid-free collection boxes and all of the kinds of support materials that staff needs. So we really work very hard on finding ways outside of the museum to get our staff involved. Taking it a step further, we do ecotourism. This is a trip actually we did to Costa Rica. The gentleman on the left with sunglasses on his head is our science director, and he led this trip. If you do this, I strongly recommend that you work with an expert tour company. Have them do all the logistics. They will put the entire program together for you. You just brand it and you take a little bit of incremental revenue from it. It's usually $300 to $500 per person. It is a great way to bond with your best donors, your best volunteers. They are the people most likely to take these kinds of trips. It is a wonderful perk for your staff, particularly if you have staff that are working, say, in collections. They don't get out much. They are thrilled to have you say, gee, I want you to go to Costa Rica. And you don't have to do it worldwide. We are increasingly looking at what can we do on a local basis. How can we put our brand on the road? Our local public radio station does trips all the time. And I keep thinking that as museums, we should figure out how to do this around the state of Florida so that, I could put together a tour and go up and have my group spend a day and go to the Bishop and have lunch and do Salvador Dali and then come back. It's a wonderful, wonderful way of giving your donors, your members, if they get special pricing, a fabulous way to spend more time with your museum, with your staff, and you make money from it as well. It's just a win-win all the way around. You can take them to lectures, you can take them to cultural events or to gourmet dinners, all kinds of things that are related to your mission. So I highly recommend looking at that, both ecotourism really close to home and really far away. One of the things that we did this year is a pop-up store. So Kathy has great data on how to make a store successful. If you have a space outside of your museum, if you have, say, there's a great local mall or shopping center or something that gets a lot of traffic, but they have a couple of empty spaces. They don't want to have empty spaces. They want to have those look full because it helps bring more traffic to the mall. You can negotiate really, really hard with those mall owners or those retail folks and do a pop-up store for the busiest time of year. Do it for November, December, if Christmas is your time period, or for us, it's January, February, March. Take some of your retail merchandise. It doesn't have to be fancy. If you do great branding, it drives your mission. It has a lot of people saying, "Oh, I never heard of that museum." And for us, it worked out really well. We're under construction, so rather than storing all of our retail, we said, okay, we'll just open another store and use the storage in the back and the retail in the front. And that has worked really, really well. And actually the mall now wants to have us stay through September because they love having us there, and we are probably not going to be paying any rent at all. So do think about ways that you can take your store, and maybe not full-time, but just for a month or two, is there a way that you can make a little bit more money by putting it in a different location or expanding it? And my last one really is something that we don't think about, which is how to monetize your volunteer program, which seems counterintuitive, but we have been doing it and the success has been amazing. These are our Shell ambassadors. To be a Shell ambassador, you are required to pass a rigorous training program. You spend 8 hours in a classroom with us. You have 3 tests that you have to take including identifying the top 50 local Shells. We create a very high bar for this, and we have very specific requirements for it. We charge $95 to each Shell ambassador to take this program. We have had nothing but positive comments. No one has had any concerns with the $95. That said, we have had a few people that just couldn't afford it because they're retired on limited income, and we just quietly scholarship them. So we haven't turned anyone away who wants to be a Shell ambassador, but what we have found is that most of our volunteers are thrilled to spend $95 for education that they already want. And you guys have the same volunteers. I mean, Kathy has people who are lighthouse fanatics. You will have history buffs. You will have, art lovers. Those people will spend time for you to teach them so that they will be better volunteers. We now have 175 Shell ambassadors. So at $95 a piece, that's about $16,000. I probably didn't make a lot of money from that because between materials and paying for their lunches and all those kinds of things and staff time, we probably spent close to that, but it paid for itself. And normally you think of volunteers as an area that you're spending money. And so far our Shell ambassadors have put in 4,000 plus hours, and they are on the beach. They are not in the museum. So these folks are folks that wear these shirts, inviting people when they're on their beach vacations to come up and ask questions and interact and find out more about our local ecology and our environment and the shells. So it's been very successful for us. You could do a similar program, even if it's just inside the museum, to say, all right, here's the group that really knows about this particular art gallery or this particular portion of history, and they really are the ones that can answer the questions. Our Shell ambassadors have special get-togethers just for ambassadors, and they have also, many of them, been happy to pay for advanced training. So they are delighted to help you financially to help make them better volunteers and more engaged. And that has translated to the museum. Many of these Shell ambassadors have become donors to the museum in a much larger capacity because of this increased engagement that also earned us money. So we're trying to maximize it everywhere we can and always stay on mission, always be authentic in what we do, but trying to find ways to get us out to more people and to not have us linked so much to people necessarily coming to our site and into the museum, because so many people who love shells are going to go to the beach first and foremost. So that's what I have, and I guess I will turn it over to Carmen for questions.
Okay, great, Dory. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you for sharing your expertise in this area. if you have questions, this would be a good time to type them into the chat box. One thing that I forgot to mention is we do have one person who called in on the phone. So if you've called in and you've been listening along and you have a question, you can just press the little wave button. It's like a little hand that's waving. And I can actually unmute you if you'd like to ask a question. Again, the handout there that Kathy had is called sources.doc. You can download that now while we're still on the webinar. And I am just waiting to see if any of you have any questions. It looks like we might have one attendee raise their hand, so I'm just going to double check and see if this person. Nope. Okay. So for our speakers, I do not see any questions for the speakers. I do have one question that just popped up. If we can email the seminar. Yes, absolutely. We did record the seminar, and I can just send each of you who signed up a link to the video once it's transferred, and you can have that to look at again at your leisure. If you have additional questions after we complete the webinar, please feel free to email me at Carmen at flamuseums.org. I'm going to type that into the chat box real quick. So if you guys want to copy it. I'm also on the FAM website. If you go to flamuseums.org, you can get my contact information off of there if you're not able to screen grab it off of the website here. If there aren't any more questions, thank you to our three speakers. I really appreciate your time today. And also one final thing, we'll be sending a survey in addition to the link for the seminar for you to give your feedback. We're always looking for feedback, not only on this survey, but additional programs that you might like to see in the future. On that note, I'm going to close out the seminar, and thank you so much for your time today. We will see you at the next one.